Whittward Carver presents the Great British Bake-Off Bloodbath. Alright, you scone-loving sleuths, gather round. I've whipped up a tale that's darker than burnt toast and more twisted than a cinnamon roll in a tornado. Picture this, the quaint village of Lower Dribblebury, where the biggest scandal is usually who won the prize marrow at the county fair. But not today. Today, there's been a murder. And not just any murder. A murder at the annual village bake-off. It's like an Agatha Christie novel, but with more cake and less Poirot. Our hero, Inspector Blunderbuss, is on the case. He's a man who can outdrink a tea cosy, outsmoke a chimney, and outswear a sailor with a stubbed toe. But this case, it's like trying to find a raisin in a fruitcake. It's bloody impossible. The victim, the vicar, found face down in a Victoria sponge, with a rolling pin to the back of the head. It's not exactly the kind of thing you want to see at a bake-off. Unless you're Inspector Blunderbuss, of course. He's seen worse. He's been to a vegan cheese tasting. So, Blunderbuss starts his investigation. He's got his little notebook, his magnifying glass, and his trusty sidekick, Sergeant Bumblebee, who's about as helpful as a sieve in a rainstorm, but twice as charming. They interrogate the suspects one by one, and it's like a who's who of village life. There's Lady Battenberg, the local aristocrat with a penchant for pink icing and a temper that could curdle cream. There's Farmer Giles, who's got more dirt under his fingernails than a grave digger and a secret that's as dark as his prize-winning treacle tart. And there's Miss Marple. No, not that Miss Marple, this one's a librarian with a knack for knitting and a killer lemon drizzle cake. Blunderbuss is like a terrier with a bone, digging up secrets and scandals like they're buried treasure. But every time he thinks he's got a lead, it turns out to be a bloody dead end. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, and the haystack is on fire, and the needle is made of chocolate. But Blunderbuss isn't one to give up. He's got a plan. Well, 3 plans, actually. Plan A, find the murder weapon. Plan B, if that fails, find the motive. And Plan C? Well, Plan C involves a lot of flipping running away, preferably to the tea tent for a stiff cuppa. Thursday's bake-off is in chaos. The suspects are getting restless and Blunderbuss is running out of time. And then, just as he's about to throw in the towel, he notices something. A tiny little clue, no bigger than a speck of dust. It's a sprinkle. A unique little thing that only one of the bakers could have. And suddenly everything clicks into place like a well-oiled mixer. Blunderbuss gathers all the suspects in the village hall. He's like a conductor about to lead an orchestra, only instead of instruments, he's got a bunch of murder suspects. And then, with a flourish, he points to the killer. It's Farmer Giles. Or is it? Because just as he's about to confess, Lady Battenberg pulls out a cake knife, and then Miss Marple pulls out a knitting needle, and before you know it, the whole hall is pointing weapons at each other, like a ruddy Great British Bake-Off showdown. But Blunderbuss, he's cool as a cucumber in a snowstorm. He's like, all right, you lot, put down your weapons. This isn't a blimey episode of Game of Scones. And then, in a moment of sheer brilliance, he reveals the truth. The vicar wasn't killed by one person. He was killed by all of them. It's like a bloody murder by committee. Turns out the vicar had been dipping his fingers in more than just the communion wine. He'd been blackmailing the whole village, one scone recipe at a time. And so, in a fit of bake-off rage, they'd all decided to take him out. It was a crime of pastry iron, if you will. And that, my friends, is the tale of Inspector Blunderbuss and the Great British Bake-Off Bloodbath. The moral of the story? Never trust a vicar with a sweet tooth, a farmer with a secret, or a librarian with a lemon drizzle. And remember, in the game of scones, you either win or you die. Oh, and one more thing. If you ever find yourself at a village bake-off with a bunch of dodgy characters, just remember, it's probably not a flipping tea party. And with that, I leave you to ponder the mysteries of life, love, and ruddy raisins. Ta-ta for now, you scone-loving sleuths. Whittward Carver says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer to the cake tin.